Welcome to the 8th grade Math Homework Helper Series. Tonight's homework is MS1, or 1 and 2 step equations. Let's take a look at question number 1. Question number 1 asks us to give an example of two different linear equations. We can solve this problem in 2 steps. The first thing we need to do is to think about the definition of a linear equation. A linear equation is an equation that has one or more variables raised to the first power, which simply means it doesn't have any exponents. So once we know the definition, we can provide two examples of linear equations. Each one of these equations has one or more variables, and none of those variables have any exponent attached. Take a look at question number 3. What is the purpose of a variable in a linear equation? Well, again, let's look at the definition of a variable. So a variable is a symbol or letter that's used to represent a number. So the purpose of the variable really is that same piece. The variable is a representative or a placeholder for a number in a linear equation. Let's take a look at question number 4. For question number 4, we have 1.3h plus 78.56 equals 90.26. Well, the first thing we need to do is to rewrite the equation. And we know that we want to get rid of as much of the numbers on this side of the equation as we can, leave the variable, so that it equals this on the equal side, on the other side of the equal sign. So we start off by subtracting 78.56, and whatever we do to this side of the equal sign, we have to do to this side. If we do the subtraction, our answer works out to be 11.7, and we bring down the rest of the equation. Taking the information we now have, we rewrite the next step, and we want to remove the h and the 1.3. We want the 1.3 to leave that, so the h is by itself over here. So in order to do that, we are going to divide by 1.3, which cancels them out, and if we do it to this side of the equation, we have to do it to this side. Now at this point you're going to have to divide these two numbers, which I'm not going to show you how to do, but if you're having some trouble remembering how to set this up, remember that when you're dividing and you've got it set up in fraction form, it's always I over O. So the top number is going to be your inside number, which is the 11.7, and O, the bottom number, is always going to be your outside number, which in this case is the 1.3. Now you're going to have to go ahead and divide those, and remember you've got to move the decimals in each place so that you're not working with a decimal in the divisor. Okay, once we go ahead and do that, you should come out with h equaling 9. Now we have to do a step 4, which is to check our work. And in order to do that, what we are going to do is substitute h with 9. So we have 1.3 times 9 plus 78.56, and that should equal 90.26. So if we go ahead and multiply, we should get 11.7, which we would then add to 78.56, and it does in fact work out to be 90.26. So our problem has been checked and we are correct. Okay, let's move on to page 2. For page 2, I'm going to do numbers 8 and number 11. We'll start with number 8. So we have 3/4 k minus 5 2/5 equals a negative 11 2/5. We want to start by rewriting the problem, and we want to get rid of the 5 2/5, and we can do that by doing the opposite of the sign that was here, so we can add 5 2/5, but if we do that to this side, we also have to do it to this side. And if we add, we should get negative 6 and 0/5, although 0/5 technically we don't have to show that, so when we bring it down to step 2 we can leave that part off. And we need to bring down the rest of the problem. Rewriting it, we have 3/4 k equals negative 6. I want to remove the 3/4. I can do that by multiplying it by its reciprocal, which will cancel out the 4's and the 3's, leaving me with k. And if I do that to this side, then I've got to do it over here too. So if I multiply these out, I should be left with k equaling minus 8. How did I get minus 8? Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24 over 3. 3 goes into negative 24 8 times, and it stays negative. Let's try our check. So we substitute k for negative 8. And if I go ahead and do this part first, I'm going to be multiplying first because order of operations. 3 times 8 is negative 24 over 4, which simplifies to negative 6. So negative 6 minus 5 and 2/5 does equal negative 11 and 2/5. So my check works out. My problem is correct. And for our last problem, let's take a look at that one. So we have m over 7 minus 6 equals 15. We can solve it in 3 steps and check it in our fourth. So we have m over 7 minus 6 equals 15. Again, first thing I want to do is try and clear out as much as possible all of the numbers from my variable. To do that, I need to add 6. If I add 6 to that side, I've got to do it to this side. If I add 6 plus 15, it's going to get me 21, and I get to bring down the m over 7. Take the information I have now, rewrite it. In order to get rid of this 7, I need to multiply by 7, and they'll cancel each other out. But if I multiply by 7 on this side, I've got to do it on this side too. And if I go ahead and follow through, I should get m equals 147. Now, of course, I have to check that. So I put 147 in for the variable that I had before. So I have 147 over 7 minus 6 equals 15. If I divide that out, I know from the work I did up here that 7 goes into 147 21 times. And then I subtract 6 from 21, and I do in fact get 15. So my check works out. My problem is correct. Please use the work done on these problems to help you solve the rest of the problems on your homework tonight. And remember, the key to success in math is not only working hard, but working smart.